perspective drawing project. I was so happy with all the pictures that you guys sent to me the first time around, because this was not an easy project. I was really challenging you, and you guys did so great. I was so proud of you. Remember that we were working on this perspective drawing. To quickly review, we had words like perspective, which is showing the space in the picture. We had that vanishing point, where all the lines disappeared to. We had the horizon line. That's that imaginary line where the sky comes down and meets the ground. And then we had foreground, middle ground, and background. Today we're going to take some time to add the details in those three different areas and finish up our project that way. But before we start drawing, I'd like you to just take a minute, check out these pictures that I have attached, and test your knowledge on the...
Let's review. How'd you score? Hope you got them all right.
So we're ready to draw. I hope you guys remembered all those words and that you got 100% on those pictures. Ella, are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. So as we draw these details, such as the fence, I have some gravel along the road, some grasses and some wildflowers. I did a field back here and a tree in the distance. If you guys have some other ideas, like I had one student ask if she could put a turkey in hers, just remember that things that are in the foreground have to be big. So if her turkey's in the foreground, it's got to be big. If it's in the middle ground, it's medium. And if the turkey was so far away it was in the background, it would be teeny tiny. You probably wouldn't even be able to tell what it was. You need binoculars to see it. So anyways, keep that in mind with everything that you add to your picture.
Brain Break, Perspective Rap featuring Mrs. H. I have a song that might help you remember all of this. Sorry, but it's also going to get stuck in your head.
Foreground,
enjoy.
It's close to us. Foreground, it's close to us. Middle ground, it's kind of close to us. Middle ground, it's kind of close to us. Background, it's really far from us. Background, it's really far from us. It's tiny. It's tiny. Put it in the background. Put it in the background. It's medium. It's medium. Put it in the middle ground. Put it in the middle ground. It's big. It's big. Put it in the foreground. Put it in the foreground. Foreground, it's close to us. Foreground, it's close to us. Middle ground, it's kind of close to us. Middle ground, it's kind of close to us. Background, it's really far from us. Background, it's really far from us.
Thank you. Hope you survived that.
First, we're going to start with this gravel along the side of the road. So when you start up here in the front, it's going to be pretty far away from your road. And we're going to give it a little bit of a wiggly line, rough edge, because it's not a sidewalk. And as it turns the corner, remember, it's going towards the vanishing point. And Ella, you can go ahead and start. It's going to disappear in the background. And you'll do the same thing on the other side. So it'll be wiggly lines. You don't want it perfect. Perfect, Ella. After I said you don't want it perfect. Perfect. And as you go back, it's going to get narrower and narrower until it disappears. Then, up here, you would see more detail in this gravel. So you might see little specks. You might even see a couple bigger rocks. And you'll do this on both sides. We're not going to draw every single piece of gravel because artists don't usually do that. They just kind of give you the idea that there's some gravel. But as you go back, you don't see any of those bigger pebbles. And then eventually it just disappears and you don't see anything. You might actually even see a few blades of grass up in the foreground in your gravel. And I usually go 1, 2, 3, a little plant, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But those are just up in the front. You wouldn't really see them back here in the middle ground, and for sure not in the background, because things in the front are bigger. Good, Ella, I like it. Now let's work on our fence. We're going to start here with a post, and because things in the foreground are bigger, you'll make a big fence post. And then the next fence post gets a little bit smaller. And these are just tall, skinny rectangles. And then smaller yet. And smaller. And smaller. And now they're getting so far away, they're not really rectangles anymore. They're just lines. And they're getting closer together because they're disappearing over that hill that we drew. So I did about 4 to 5 rectangles before they turned into just lines. And make sure, yep, you're doing great. They're getting smaller as you go towards the back, Ella. Good. And on yours, I would maybe add one right here that's going off the page. That's really in the foreground. And then we're going to add some wire, like a swoop. Swoop. I do 2 of them. Swoop. We'll pretend this one is going off the page. That's a good rule in art, is to have things go off the page, because it makes your viewer get sucked into your picture, like they're a part of it. As I go way far to the back, remember I lose detail, so now I'm just going to move to one line. That fence back there, you can barely see it. Are you leaving this one open as a little gate? Oh, just didn't do it yet. Very good. And you could have some lines going off the edge of the page right there too. Right here, like there's still another fence post there. Perfect. Good. I hope yours are turning out well. A couple more things I would like to add. When you're out in the country, they don't mow their lawns, so you're going to have some tall grasses here in the foreground. And to do that, remember I always like to do what not to do. Remember this guy? I don't want you to do your grass like this, because that looks too perfect. So instead, you'll make a little clump here, a little clump here, and they're kind of going different directions. Some are longer, some are shorter. You might have some on the hillside. That's all getting bent over by the breeze going that way. I like to put a lot of them right next to that gravel edge. But then a few up here on the hill too. Same thing on this other side. And along your fence posts for sure, you would have some tall grasses growing up here in the front. You just don't want to make them look too perfect. As you go towards the back, remember, it has less detail. So you only see maybe a little bit of some grass around those fence posts. On the hillside over here, you'll have some longer grasses. But as it goes back, it loses its detail back here. You might also add some rocks, some bigger rocks in the front. You would find that along the road. Just kind of a blob shape. And when we're not drawing wildflowers up close, they're just along the road, we're not going to draw too many details on them at all. What I like to do is draw a stem inside one of my grass clumps, and you can do a little, like a sunshine. And sometimes flowers just have some dots like this in a cone shape. A lot of wildflowers grow like that. So you can take some time to put a few wildflowers. Now if the ones in the foreground are this small, back here in the middle ground and the background, you're probably not going to see any of those flowers. You might see a few dots way out here in the distance, just to show that there's some flowers in that field. But that's about all the detail you would have, unless you had your binoculars on. Because things in the background are small. We're almost there. You're doing a great job. Love it. In my finished picture here, I tried to show some rows that were made by the farmer's plow. Remember what I said about that vanishing point? Do you remember, Ella? What is a vanishing point?
It's where the road goes so far that you can't see anything.
Yep, when the road goes so far that it vanishes, well, the farmer's rows are going to do the same thing. So in this little section back here, remember we drew a hill? This is behind the hill. We're going to draw some farmer's rows in his field, and they also go to the vanishing point. So it starts here and goes back towards the vanishing point. That's another way we can show perspective way back in the field. And it's so far away, we can't tell if it's corn growing there or soybeans. It's just, you can see the rows. Good. The last thing that I wanted to do was a little tree. Now, if a tree was up here in the foreground, it would be really big. We might even only see the trunk. But this one is going to be in the middle ground. So I'm going to make it medium. It's kind of in this field back here. So first I'm just going to draw a trunk. It's not going to have a lot of detail. And maybe one branch. And because it's far away, I'll let you this time do one of those lollipop trees, I call it, kind of like a blob, a cloud. If it was up close, you'd have to do a lot more detail. But since it's far away, you can draw that fluffy cloud look kind of a tree. I want you to try at least one tree back there, but if you wanted to do a bunch, you could do that too. Now this is all I really want you to draw for the project, so if you'd like to be done there, you can be done and email that picture to me. But if you want to add some color with pens or markers or colored pencils, I'd love to see that too. Or, like that one girl wanted to add a turkey, go for it. Or if there's a barn that you wanted to put in it, go for it. Except for make sure you follow the rules that in the foreground it's big, in the middle ground it's medium, and then in the background it would be tiny. Can't wait to see your pictures. Don't forget to email them to me. And this will be one of our last art projects of this school year. I've really had fun drawing with you from my house to your house. I'm sure miss being with you guys though, and I can't wait to see you again. Thanks for helping, Ella.